She was just 17, a cheerleader, a daughter, beloved by her classmates, her church, her entire community. But one night, her life, and the lives of her parents, changed forever. Sarah Grace Patrick was accused of a crime that shocked an entire town: the murder of her own mother and stepfather. Was it possible that the girl everyone knew and loved could do something so unthinkable? Or was she being wrongly accused? Stay with us, because the truth is far more complicated than you can imagine. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the full story as we uncover every detail of Sarah Grace Patrick's case. On a quiet summer night in Paulding County, Georgia, the kind of night where cicadas hum softly in the trees and porch lights flicker against warm brick walls, everything changed inside the Patrick household. 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick, a girl known for her bright smile, her cheerleading spirit, and her seemingly perfect life, would be accused of an act so violent and shocking that it shook her entire community. 2 lives were lost that night: her mother, Jennifer Patrick, and her stepfather, David Patrick. The details are chilling, but the human story behind them is even more complex. Sarah wasn't a troubled teenager. She didn't have a criminal record. She wasn't someone neighbors whispered about. She was polite, conscientious, and ambitious. She studied hard, cheered passionately at football games, and volunteered at her church. Her life, on the surface, seemed ordinary in every way. Yet, after that night, nothing would ever feel ordinary again. People in small towns are often quick to judge, quick to protect, and sometimes quick to deny what they cannot imagine. In Sarah's case, her neighbors, friends, and even strangers couldn't reconcile the image of the bright, smiling teen with the accusation leveled against her. Some immediately rallied behind her, wearing T-shirts in court that read, "I stand with Sarah." Others were gripped by disbelief, asking, how could this happen in a house they thought they knew? To understand the story, we need to understand Sarah herself. She was just 17, a cheerleader, a daughter, beloved by her classmates, her church, her entire community. But one night, her life, and the lives of her parents, changed forever. Sarah was born and raised in Paulding County, in a modest brick home with a neatly trimmed yard and a quiet street that echoed with the laughter of children at play. From a young age, she showed a gentle, empathetic personality. Teachers recall a child who was attentive and kind, often helping classmates with assignments, and always willing to lend a hand. Friends remember sleepovers and football games, birthday parties, and late-night chats about dreams of college and travel. Church played a central role in her upbringing. Every Sunday, Sarah would attend services with her mother and stepfather, participating in youth groups and community outreach programs. She wasn't just present. She was active, cheerful, and engaged. For many in the town, Sarah represented the ideal teenager: responsible, ambitious, and deeply rooted in her community. Her school life mirrored her home life: studious, involved, admired. She balanced her academics with cheerleading and extracurricular activities, earning praise for both her discipline and her energy. Her cheerleading captain remembered Sarah as a girl who could lift the mood of the entire team, who encouraged everyone to perform their best, and who, despite being the youngest on the squad, carried herself with remarkable poise. Yet, as often happens, what people see on the surface is rarely the full story. Jennifer Patrick, Sarah's mother, was described by friends and neighbors as caring, warm, and deeply committed to both her family and the community. She was the kind of mother who knew every friend of her children by name, who volunteered at school events, and who tried, with tireless effort, to create a nurturing environment. David Patrick, her stepfather, was quieter but no less devoted. A man of few words, he worked long hours to provide stability and comfort for his family. Friends say he had a soft spot for Sarah, often encouraging her in her schoolwork and cheering for her at every game. Their blended family had its challenges, like any family, but by most accounts, it was loving and structured. Neighbors recalled evenings when the family could be seen together on the porch, talking and laughing, seemingly ordinary and happy. Yet, for reasons that are still not fully clear, the night of July 14th, 2025, would end in tragedy, shattering the very foundation of this family. The night that changed everything. Details of the night are still being revealed through court documents and police reports. What is known is that sometime after midnight, shots rang out inside the Patrick home. Emergency services were called, and officers arrived to find Jennifer and David Patrick dead in their bedroom. It was a crime scene that stunned the small town. Almost immediately, suspicion fell on Sarah. Investigators indicated that evidence at the scene pointed toward her, though they have not publicly released all the specifics. What was shared, however, was enough to warrant her arrest and her charge as an adult for 2 counts of murder. For the town, this was incomprehensible. Sarah was a child of the community, known and loved by her classmates, teachers, and neighbors. How could someone so young, so familiar, be accused of something so horrific? Reaction in Paulding County was swift and deeply divided. While some residents were shocked and fearful, many chose to rally behind Sarah. At her bond hearing, dozens of supporters gathered, wearing white t-shirts marked, "I stand with Sarah." They included classmates, friends, teachers, and members of her church. Local media captured the image of the crowd, a testament to a community struggling to reconcile what they knew with what they were being told. Her pastor spoke openly, describing Sarah as a young woman of faith, character, and kindness. Friends echoed similar sentiments, insisting that she could not possibly commit such violence. Some parents questioned the investigation itself, wondering if the authorities had jumped to conclusions based on circumstantial evidence rather than facts. The scene painted a picture of a town torn between disbelief and loyalty, a town grappling with the tension between what is legally alleged and what is emotionally felt. Sarah was taken into custody following the discovery of the bodies. She was charged as an adult, a decision that sparked debates among legal experts and community members alike. Being tried as an adult meant that if convicted, she faced life in prison without parole, a staggering reality for someone still in her teens. The police reported that they had mountains of evidence, though the precise details remained under seal. The phrasing itself, intended to convey the strength of the case, also fueled speculation. Supporters wondered if the evidence was being exaggerated, while skeptics saw it as confirmation of guilt. Even now, weeks after her arrest, the story raises more questions than answers. Why would a teenage girl commit such a violent act against the people who raised her? What was happening behind closed doors that the community never saw? Or was this an innocent girl caught in a chain of tragic circumstances beyond her control? Every neighbor, friend, and classmate seems to have a different theory. Some speculate about family conflict. Others believe in some sort of setup, perhaps involving someone else entirely. Social media is alive with debate, and the hashtag #IStandWithSarah trends locally, while national attention begins to mount. As Sarah awaits trial, she remains a figure of both sympathy and suspicion. Her community continues to support her. Her classmates continue to question the narrative, and her fate hangs in the balance. What happened that night? Was it a calculated act, or a tragedy misinterpreted by a frightened town? The answers will not come easily, and as the courtroom drama approaches, the story of Sarah Grace Patrick is only beginning to unfold. As the summer of 2025 gave way to the late heat of August, all eyes in Paulding County turned toward the courthouse. Sarah Grace Patrick, the teenage girl at the center of a storm that had shaken her small town to its core, was about to face her first court appearance. Bond hearings are often procedural, but for Sarah, they became a stage on which the community's deepest emotions played out. Dozens of supporters gathered, wearing their white "I Stand With Sarah" shirts, holding signs, some clutching photographs of a smiling teenager they refused to believe could commit murder. The courtroom itself was tense. Families of the victims were present, their grief palpable. Journalists and camera crews crowded the benches, capturing every glance, every whisper. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken questions. Could a child truly commit such a violent act? And if so, why? Sarah sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, her expression calm but unreadable. To the casual observer, She might have seemed composed, almost serene, but inside, she was likely grappling with fear, confusion, and the reality of facing life in prison. She was still just 17. The prosecutor laid out the case, referring to the mountains of evidence allegedly linking Sarah to the deaths of Jennifer and David Patrick. Witness statements, forensic details, and procedural timelines were presented, each word carefully chosen to underscore the gravity of the charges. The argument was simple. Sarah was a risk to the community, a flight risk, and, in the eyes of the prosecution, someone who should remain in custody pending trial. Then came the defense. Her attorney spoke passionately about Sarah's character, her life as a student, cheerleader, and churchgoer. They emphasized the love and support of her community, the lack of direct evidence publicly disclosed, and the sheer impossibility, in their view, of a teenager carrying out such an act. They framed Sarah as a child caught in a legal and emotional storm far beyond her comprehension. The judge, listening intently to both sides, ultimately denied bond. Sarah would remain in custody as the legal machinery began its slow, meticulous grind toward trial. For her supporters, the decision was a blow, but not a defeat. They vowed to continue their public show of solidarity, both inside and outside the courtroom. The community response. Small towns have long memories, and in Paulding County, people are deeply connected. Teachers, classmates, neighbors, and church members all weighed in on Sarah's behalf, many speaking with a conviction that bordered on defiance. In local interviews, friends described Sarah as a girl who laughed easily, cared deeply for her peers, and always seemed to put others before herself. She wasn't perfect, one classmate admitted, but she never hurt anyone. Never. Church leaders emphasized her active role in youth programs, her devotion to volunteering, and her kindness toward younger children in the congregation. Meanwhile, skeptics in the community raised uneasy questions. How could a teen, even one deeply loved, be accused of murder? Was it possible that people were blinded by familiarity, unwilling to accept evidence that painted a darker picture? Social media debates exploded. Locals shared stories defending her character, while strangers questioned whether loyalty had clouded judgment. The hashtag #IStandWithSarah became a rallying cry, and with every post, picture, and comment, the tension between support and suspicion grew more visible. Behind closed doors, the prosecution was preparing a case designed to leave no doubt. Investigators and attorneys meticulously reviewed every detail of the night in question: Sarah's movements, witness statements, digital activity, and forensic evidence. Though much of this information remained confidential, the goal was clear: establish a timeline and demonstrate that the teenager, despite her age, was responsible for the murders. They argued that the combination of motive, opportunity, and behavior post-incident painted a compelling picture of guilt. Each piece of evidence, they claimed, added weight to the theory that Sarah's actions were deliberate. Sarah's defense team took a very different approach. They emphasized her age, her emotional state, and the possibility of alternative explanations for the deaths. They pointed to her previously spotless record, her devotion to family, and her reputation in the community as proof that she was not capable of cold-blooded murder. They also raised questions about the investigation itself. Was evidence being interpreted correctly? Were assumptions being made based on her presence in the home rather than concrete proof? In their narrative, Sarah was a victim of circumstance, a child caught in a tragedy that spiraled far beyond what anyone could have anticipated. In today's digital age, no high-profile case remains insulated from social media. The Sarah Grace Patrick case became an online phenomenon. Videos, opinion threads, and community posts circulated widely, dividing opinion almost evenly between those who believed in her innocence and those who found the allegations believable. Classmates posted selfies in support of her, sharing anecdotes that highlighted her kindness and humor. Local parents expressed confusion and disbelief. Meanwhile, true crime enthusiasts from across the country joined the conversation, dissecting timelines, speculating about motives, and theorizing about evidence that had not yet been publicly disclosed. For Sarah, The emotional weight of being a teenager in jail, facing murder charges, and navigating public scrutiny is almost unimaginable. Nights are long, quiet, and isolating. Friends are far away, and the faces that once brought comfort now stare through media screens, some sympathetic, some accusatory. Her family is fractured in grief. Extended relatives struggle with the loss of Jennifer and David Patrick, while simultaneously grappling with the reality of a loved one being accused of their deaths. The community, too, is torn: loyalty versus suspicion, empathy versus outrage. Each day brings new questions, new rumors, and new scrutiny. And yet, amid all this, Sarah remains the same girl many knew. 17, navigating a world that has suddenly become incomprehensibly complex and frightening. Even without access to all legal documents, speculation runs rampant. Some suggest there could have been long-standing family tensions nobody saw. Others believe in the possibility of an accidental death misinterpreted by the investigation. Some question whether external influences, friends, peers, or unknown parties, played a role in shaping events that led to the tragedy. The lack of a publicly stated motive only fuels the curiosity. A teenager capable of killing her parents is a concept that challenges everything most people believe about children, family, and loyalty. And because no one has all the answers yet, the speculation continues, drawing more attention and keeping the story alive in news cycles, social feeds, and conversations across the country. As of August 2025, the trial has been scheduled for January 5th, 2026. For Sarah and her supporters, the months leading up to the trial are filled with anticipation, anxiety, and hope. Every hearing, every procedural motion, every court appearance becomes an opportunity to watch the story unfold in real time. The prosecution prepares to make its case. The defense prepares to dismantle assumptions and protect Sarah's rights. The community prepares to watch, to support, to question, and to wait. The truth behind that July night remains unresolved. Was Sarah Grace Patrick a teenager caught in circumstances beyond her control, a child misjudged by a fearful community? Or was she something else entirely, a young person capable of an act no one could imagine? As she sits in custody, the world watching, every detail, every piece of testimony, and every revelation has the power to change perception. And yet, even as the trial approaches, one fact remains indisputable. The story of Sarah Grace Patrick is far from over, and the questions it raises about family, community, and the fragility of youth will linger long after the final gavel falls. The camera lenses will continue to follow her. The hashtags will continue to circulate, and the world will continue to wonder, who is Sarah Grace Patrick? And what truly happened that night in Paulding County? Sarah's case has left a community divided, a family broken, and a young girl's future hanging in the balance. But one question still remains. Was Sarah a victim of circumstance, or the mastermind behind a crime too dark to imagine? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop your theories in the comments below, and let's talk about it. And if you found this story as haunting as we did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of true crime. Thank you for watching Dark Case Files, where every case has a story and every story leaves us with questions.